We've programmed a double bill of two works by Telemann. First of all, his brilliant comic intermezzo Pimpinone, and a very late work, one of the last pieces he composed, a cantata called Ino, which is extremely dramatic. And this gives a wonderful context because the comic intermezzi were originally designed to fit in between the acts of serious operas, opera seria. And so this gives a little bit of that context because Gilbert has interwoven the two pieces. So we get the first intermezzo of Pimpinone and then the first half of the dramatic cantata. So it's kind of in inverse order from a normal performance of an opera seria, but it gives this contrast between the comic and the tragic.
The cool thing about this is that it's early Telemann from the 20s and very, very late Telemann. And it just shows what an incredibly inventive and incredibly inspired composer he is. I think we usually think of Telemann as being kind of run-of-the-mill or kind of ordinary Baroque, like standard Baroque. But both these pieces point in so many different directions. It's fascinating. The Pimpinone is like looking towards comic opera, like Mozart, and the Ino is this fabulous grand opera tragedy. So it's a very nice contrast between the two.
The angle we took to explore for this production, of course at the time the society was putting women, expecting women to behave in a certain way. And the voice of this woman in this comic intermezzi is really most about freedom of will and respect for her own view on a place in a society and in the relationship with her husband. So she's not submissive, she wants full respect, she wants to be a equal partner. And of course at the time that was for them really comical.
Doch trag ich keine Sklavenkette. Recht geliebteste.
The relationship between these characters is way more complex than what I would have expected from a comic intermezzo. It's really like a developed, actually very modern feeling relationship between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. She has a very modern take on what her boundaries are and what she's willing to put up with and what she's not willing to put up with.
That in those intermezzi, a lot of time there were some mute roles, and of course of the Commedia dell'arte. And we know as well that from late plays of the 17th centuries, there is many characters who change themselves in other characters. For instance, Harlequin would come as a lawyer or as a dancing master. And so in the Pimpinone, that's what we decide to do.
I'm enjoying so much watching Marie-Nathalie as Arlecchino because in rehearsal she's creating all her own action. While we're staging the singers, I can see Marie-Nathalie creating her own role, as was done in the 17th century, and deciding which little tricks she can do and which movement would be appropriate. So I'm enjoying it very much, and in fact you will be in different costumes every time you're in a different disguise. So that will add a lot of color to the scene.
The costumes were imagined really very close to the action. I was very spoiled to work with Gilbert, who is a stage directing also with Marie-Nathalie, because the costume in a comedy are a key component, I think, and also working so close to him and knowing all the jokes he wanted to put and thinking with him about that was very interesting.
It's also like a transformation of her overdress to this one.
Yeah,
so
yes, like the same type of version,
yes.
but the color and the fabric changes.
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
And of course, my darling, the thing is really beautiful here. You know, it's also an interesting story. It's a woman who has been abused in a way by her husband, so she's flying from home and trying to save a baby, a son that she had with her husband, who became crazy, and she's escaping that to run away. And at the moment she's so desperate that in fact she decides to kill herself by jumping into the sea from a cliff. And that's when the story elevates to another level, because she's welcomed by the sea and she's transformed herself as a goddess.
By the time Telemann wrote this, he had so many tricks up his sleeve, and he uses all of them. The instrumentation for this piece is fantastic, and the effects that he uses for the waves and the crashing and King Neptune emerging from the water with his flaming trident, you hear it all in the music.
I think you can hardly pack more action into an evening at the theater, and I think many people will discover the great dimensions of Telemann that they really didn't suspect. Telemann's much more known for ditzy little recorder pieces, but these are great, great works of art and give him the dimension that he deserves.